Good evening, everyone. This is Paul Temple from the Diamond Light Network. And this is our Sunday evening sound temple. We are going to generate sacred sound space, vibrational, mystical travel space. And this is our heart healing sanctuary. So this particular one is about really going into our hearts and just remembering the wholeness of our hearts, the fullness of our hearts. You know, the heart is much, much more than we are taught in our culture. The heart, and I'm not talking about the anatomical heart, that's a different heart. This is the energy center of the heart. And it's actually a powerful resource to help us connect with our authentic self, with our sovereign soul presence. And so our purpose here is to just connect in and begin to remember our hearts, beginning to remember how to connect into heart consciousness, because our hearts are connected to all being in all realms. They're connected into the grid work of light, connected to the heart of the earth and up into quantum consciousness. And as we begin to reintegrate or remember, meaning put back together or remind ourselves of the potency of our hearts, we begin to become very different beings. And if we could do this collectively, we could really begin to create a whole new civilization, a peaceful and collaborative and heartfelt civilization on Earth. And that's really sort of our larger mission of the Diamond Light Network, is to really help people remember their hearts and to help raise the consciousness of humanity to create this heart-centered global consciousness. So most of this happens through the vibration. I talk a little bit because the talking speaks to our brains so that we understand in our conscious awareness now what we're doing, but the vibration of the bowls and the mantras really speak directly to the heart. They help resonate the heart to help it come back to its fully illuminated presence. And I want to talk for a little bit before we go into the sound about an event coming up this coming Friday, June 3rd. It's already June. And then which is the beginning of a series. And this series is called Lineages of Magic and the Age of Darkness. And it's a way of understanding our history, particularly people that have gifts, things like intuitive awareness, telepathic awareness, clairvoyance, energy in your hands, healing energy in your hands. These are magical gifts. And these gifts have actually been repressed in our culture for centuries and centuries. Now, within our normal history, and I say normal history because there are many new aspects of history unfolding, aspects of our history that have been repressed or hidden or subjugated. But this is actually, the burning times, the Inquisition back in the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries were a common part of the history that I studied. And in that time, anyone who showed signs of these gifts, of these beautiful heart-illuminated, enlightened gifts of being able to communicate with plants and talk with spirit beings, they were horribly tortured, if not executed and burned at the stake. And, it was a horrible, horrible time. And there were families that have these gifts or had these gifts that survived those burning times. times. But they were highly, highly traumatized because to reveal these gifts was certain death and torture. So we have these lineages of families that carry these gifts that also pass on from generation to generation the trauma of revealing these gifts. And it kind of drives people crazy when you're feeling this stuff and you're sensing this stuff and seeing this stuff and you don't know what to do with it. Nobody gives you context. And many that I have spoken with had this experience as a child, that they could see things and feel things, and they had spirit friends, and they were told to repress it. That was also my experience. And my mother was a highly, highly intuitive person, but she was also very institutionalized crazy. And it drove her crazy, having all this awareness and not knowing what to do with it, and the lineages of fear that also came through. So it's a way of understanding this age of darkness that we are coming out of now. A horrible, horrible era of human existence, of war and violence and slavery and genocide, and just, the horrors that humans have inflicted on each other over the past centuries is just horrific. And we're now beginning to be able to come out of this and to heal this and to remember that, yes, these gifts are amazing, wonderful opportunities to help raise our own consciousness, expand our consciousness, and to offer these gifts to the people. And to realize that I actually believe that these gifts these abilities are in our human DNA, and that anyone over time can begin to develop them. We just need to focus on it and work with it and give them the focus that we give intellectual development at this time. So that's what this series is about, is remembering this, talking about it. We'll do some skill development. We'll do some visioning. We're going to clear some of the ancestral channels to really invoke your ancestry to be a resource and a strength. In indigenous cultures, the ancestors are supposed to be part of our spiritual toolbox. They are supposed to be a strength and a support to help remind us of the truth and of our hearts. But our ancestral lineage web, the web of our ancestral strands, is so thick and clogged with these fears and these trauma and the pain that our ancestors had to survive through the dark time, that we need to clear this. So anyways, I'm talking too much, but that's what this work is about, is to help understand those of us that have these skills, to begin to develop them, to understand the context of where we are coming from, and then the future that we can build as we reintegrate these magical gifts into our lives and into our reality. That's really the mission of the work. So clearing the past and manifesting the future are very important aspects of the work right now. So enough of that. You can find that, the link to the web. The first event this coming Friday is free. It's a free introductory session, and then there are other sessions that continue through June and July. Those are on Zoom, and you can look up those and find them on the Facebook group and on the site and all those good places. So, and they'll probably get put in the chat for this event as well. All right, so let's drop into magical space, magical sound space. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart to start. And just taking a moment to breathe into that energy in the center of your chest. We visualize the heart as an orb of light, a glowing, radiant diamond orb, like a full moon or a bright sun. And as we give it attention, as we breathe into it, it grows brighter. It's kind of like this image up here. This is the heart. And then that heart is connected through these axes of light down to the earth and up into the sky and then out horizontally to the four directions. We call this the heart circuit. And it is what connects us with all creation, with all being in all realms. You can begin to visualize that architecture in your heart, in your being. Visualization is a very important tool for manifestation. And then just let yourself bathe in the sound waves. The heart speaks in the language of vibration. The nada, that primordial vibrational pulse that was the creative force of the universe and is still. The nada. Nada yoga is the study of vibration. And your heart resonates and is nourished by the pure vibrational sounds. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on the great heart sutra mantra, and mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far from every confusing view, they dwell in the pure land of nirvana. So therefore know that the great heart sutra mantra is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and distress. So proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra, the mantra that says, Gati Vara, Gati Vara, Gati Vara, Gati Bodhisvara, Gati 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 Gati Vara, Gati Bodhisvara, Gati Gati Vara, Gati Bodhisvara, Gati Gati gates are chained. Majur drola pong pamed partam drodon abjen gegmed drub parshog drodon abjen gegmed drub parshog. May great waves of beneficial energy be manifest in all realms without obstacle for the benefit of all beings. Savi call on the pure, luminous source of all being. That we may attain true transcendent awakening on the astral, the causal, and the earthly planes. Ignite us with your all-pervading light. You can bring your hands back to your heart where we started. Remembering that bright orb of diamond luminescence therein. That is your heart light, your heart center. And hopefully it has been nourished and awakened by this vibrational bath. The bowls and the mantras speak to the heart. So I thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you found it a benefit. Thank you, Alyssa, for your lovely singing. This is Alyssa Collins, who is hitting the angelic spheres there. We offered this good energy that we generated out as peace for all beings. And I hope you also found it of benefit. If you want to keep in touch, you can join our Facebook group, Diamond Light Network. If you want to get on our email list, you can go to the website and sign up there. And there's lots of information on the website about the awakening of the human heart as the next phase of human evolution. So if that sounds intriguing, please check it out. And if you want to learn more about lineages of magic and the age of darkness, that is our upcoming June and July Zoom series. You can also learn about that in those places. So, remembering your magical lineages and gifts is good. So thank you. Namaste, namaste. Good night, good night.